What's up everyone, before we get started today, I just want you guys to know about NANOLEAF. NANOLEAF is a LED company that combines a little bit of Legos and a little bit of LED lights basically. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, like combining stuff together, like just making it into different shapes like a mountain, heart, kind of the X, to give your room a little bit of vibrant feeling, then NANOLEAF is the way to go basically. And if you guys do want to support the channel, click down the link below and see if you guys can purchase anything down there basically. 10% of the things that you guys purchase there will be given to the channel. And also, I may say so for myself, these things are pretty good, to be honest. They can connect to my Twitch chat so that the chat in general can be able to mess around with it. It can hook up to your alerts basically, and it's something that's beautiful as well. It's even brighter than the regular room lights basically, as you can see here. Look at this, amazing. It's red and now it's turning to orange, but you guys can't see it because it's so freaking bright. Without further ado, let's get started on the video today. Vedi, Vidi, Vici. I think I got that right. A common phrase used by the ancient Romans to say I came, I saw, I conquered. It literally was like that. Romans alike, they were conquering all, dividing and conquering. They were an empire, but before that they were a republic. And for Rome to Total War, they are exactly like that. A powerhouse to be reckoned with. A pain in the ass to deal with in multiplayer, but something to be remarkable of when it comes to their history, and when it comes to the accuracy in the game, and when it comes to their fighting style in the multiplayer battles in Rome to Total War. Greetings everyone, I'm JK, and this is a faction insight of Rome in Rome to Total War. What's up everyone, before we get started today, make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment down below, down the comment area, of any other Total War games that you guys want me to review on, or to basically make strategy guides on for beginners basically. I might not be a pro at this yet, but a lot of times when it comes to strategy games, it's hard for beginners or people that don't really like the RTS games in general to get used to it. It requires a little bit of brains, and why not teach them of how to be able to learn how to play RTS games. That's why I do a RTS coaching program as well. We do have 6 slots left basically, so if you guys are interested in the RTS coaching program, if you guys are interested in learning how to play RTS games for beginners, 6 slots are for free basically. So make sure you guys decide on that, and get to me on Discord, right down in the description. DM me if you guys want, if you guys are interested in that. Well, anyway, let's get started. So the faction we're going to talk about today are the Romans. These guys are the powerhouse of all the other factions when it comes to their melee infantry. But when it comes to their campaign though, you're going to be starting off as the Roman Republic. So this is going to be the early stages of the Roman, civilization basically, as it was, during history basically. You start off with some starting units as the Hastati. As you can see here, you're going to be starting out Principes, and with the Triar, these are the the early units that you guys will be able to upgrade and to be able to use during battle in this early time of your Roman faction basically. And as you can see, a lot of times this was all based on history as well when it comes to Hastati, Principes, and Triarii basically. The formations usually when it comes to the Roman faction is basically pretty astounding, because of the fact a lot of people have used this kind of tactic that the Romans have to use thousands of years ago. Not sure what it's called, but basically what happens is they use the frontliners as the velites, the javelin throwers. Next is the line of basically the Hastati. They're the youngest. They're basically your cadets or privates of the army, and they will be the first liners to be able to go up against the enemy. And if they do survive the battle majority of the time, they'll be promoted, or just, they'll be probably moved up to the line of Principes. They are the mid lines. They're the heavy infantry column basically. These guys are more veteran and they're your sergeants, they're like your people of battle experience basically. And then when you get to all the way at the end, which is the elite units of the Triarii, they're your spear units. but they have the most amount of experience of all the other units in battle. Basically like they have their few numbers, but they're pretty good when it comes to like just defending the general and trying to be able to go up against cavalry. So that's kind of like the benefits for like the true spear infantry. And basically that was the formation. So one line of Hastati, another line of Principes, and another line of Trurs, and they usually be spread out majority of the time. I'm not sure why that was back then. I'm not really sure if it was spread out for each like column, or they're like all packed together, or they're just packed really impact. But majority of the time, this purpose of the formation was to basically break into the enemy lines, just to go through them, pounce through them no matter what. Even the phalanx of any Greeks would not stand a chance against the Romans, basically because of this formation. Not sure if that's a really great tactic in Rome 2 Total War when it comes to his multiplayer, but a lot of times, I've seen sometimes people have done it, and it has been pretty effective when I don't really expect that kind of formation to be expected. I mean, I do see them, but I never expect the formation of like all-out infantry to be so strong, and that's where kind of like the infantry and that's where the faction of Rome is supposed to be relied upon, more upon their sword infantry majority of the time. And as you can see, there's a lot of difference between the Roman javelin throwers, or the Roman infantry when they throw their javelins, versus a lot of the other like infantries basically. Because of the fact, once they throw their javelins, it's not a javelin, it's called a pilum, I believe that's called. You can dislike it if I butcher the name or not. The pilum was supposed to dismantle your shield. Basically, it had a little thin rod at the middle at the area, and then it had a very thick kind of like bully kind of like arrow at the end. Basically, this was not supposed to go through the shield, but it was supposed to bend when it goes through the shield, and it's supposed to break, or supposed to make your shield useless basically, and it would be impossible to like just grab it out majority of the time. But in this case with Rome 2 Total War, because it is a game, it's just used as a javelin. I'm not sure if it does like bonus damage, than any other like javelin thrower melee infantries. But when it comes to the campaign, you're going to be choosing between 3 houses of the Roman faction: House Julia, House Junia, I think I got that right, and House Cornelia or Cornelia, I believe. So each of these factions have different types of traits that you guys can use. Basically, House Julia has a bonus against Barbarian factions, basically giving your infantry a 15+% of attack for melee infantry against Barbarian factions. Junia, I believe, has a bonus with their public happiness, and which is used for the majority of the time to keep your populace happy, basically. And when it comes to House Cornelia or Cornea, frick, I butchered the names a lot, sorry. House Cornelia gives you basically negative 50% of recruitment costs for all auxiliary units, basically. And I'll explain more of the auxiliary units so on once we do get into more of the campaign, basically. Like I said last time, the only units that you're gonna have in the campaign when it comes to the Roman faction is the Hastati, Triari, and the Principes. Those are your main kind of like heavy units majority of the time when it comes to Rome. But eventually, in time after time, you're able to upgrade them depending on, if you're able to like upgrade your military tech into like the legionaries, basically. So that means basically your Hastati will become Principes, and then majority of the time, like afterwards, they're gonna become legionaries, and then they're gonna become legionary cohort, basically. So each time you upgrade your military tech, you are going to be able to upgrade your units in the field. So for example, if I had a Principe and I upgraded to like legionary tech, then I can upgrade that Principe in the field into a legionary. But I'm pretty sure I need gold for that in order to do so. Like any kind of thing, nothing is free. Alright, I'm pretty sure you guys want me to talk more about the multiplayer aspects when it comes to the Roman faction. So here it is, basically. So when it comes to Rome, their majority of the strengths are going to rely on more their melee infantry. They're pretty cheap to be honest, and they're really strong. For example, the Legionaries or the Principes, I believe they're only around 700 gold, which is pretty good when it comes to their stats because they have somewhere around 45 to 47 damage or attack basically, and that's pretty good when considering that the Thorax swordsmen, which are my favorite like heavy swordsmen that I usually use for Massalia, are basically like 760 or 780, but they have around 35 or 36 like attack basically, which is like a huge number when you do want when you want cheap but efficient melee infantry. Then the Roman Empire is for you basically, or Roman Republic, or depending on what you use in the field basically. And the other like traits that I could probably see with Rome would probably be with, I don't know, they really rely on more of their melee infantries. Their cavalry isn't that good, and like even though they have like pretty good heavy tier melee cavalry and shock cavalry, the only problem is they only have one kind of shock cavalry option for you, you know, in the shock cavalry slot, and you know, majority of the elite or the heavy cavalry slot is usually more expensive to use basically. Something that I could probably use, you know, cheaper cavalry but more efficient with like the Eastern factions or more with the Gallic tribes basically. But you know, when it comes to Rome, they really lack in the cavalry slot. Even though they have it, they're expensive. They also do have a variety of like large units as well. They do have a variety of other kind of like strange units as well, such as the African war elephants and also war hounds, I believe, or war dogs basically, depending on what you call them basically. But majority of the time war dogs are pretty useless. They're only good with like missile infantry basically, which is pretty good, you know, if you do want to catch like missile infantry off guard. But you really need to use them for the most, you really need to time your opportunities when it comes to like the war dogs, because once people see your war dogs around the map, they're gonna just go right after it basically, and then they're just done. They're light infantry as well, you know, with the war dogs, so they're not gonna do that much damage, to be honest. And then when it comes to the war elephants, yeah, sure, that does give you a little bit more of a factor into the battle against cavalry, but majority of the time they're pretty expensive as well, and you're probably going to be relying more on the melee infantry than you would with these war elephants. So they also kind of lack in the spearmen and the missile infantry department basically. So their spear infantry and their missile infantries might have some like variety with them when it comes to like, you know, some cheap ones to expensive ones, but the majority of the time, you know, the cheaper ones are usually, they're not really useful basically. Majority of the time, like the missile infantry with the velites, they might be pretty useful against, you know, heavier units, but majority of the time, you know, their lack of range really kind of like adds up their flaws basically, and including themselves as being like lighter infantry basically, so they will not be able to hold their ground for much long basically. They're just there for cosmetics, I believe. I mean, they have the wolf kind of like pelt, and that's it, and they can throw spears. That's it. You know, that's what I usually call them majority of the time. They do have pretty good selections of auxiliary units though. They have their Iberian Balearic slingers. Those are pretty good, but they're pretty expensive as well. You don't really have a cheaper option for longer range missile infantry, even with the Syrian archers as well. You know, they're pretty tough when it comes to defense because they have a lot of armor on them, but they are also expensive as well. So either stick to the slingers or to the velites or javelin throwers that they have usually. When it comes to their spear units, they only have also like a bad variety of spear units as well. I believe they have two in the, I think they have two, I think they have one, I'm not really sure, but the majority of the time, you know, they do have the Vigiles, which are the light spear infantry usually. They're not that good, to be honest, you know, they will not really hold their ground, probably only be used against countering against cavalry, and that's it. If they get charged by anything but a speck of dust, they are gonna be broken, so don't use them all the time. Majority of times they also have auxiliary infantry, which is their medium spear infantry. They're pretty good, but majority of the time they do tend to fall as well, like the Vigiles. I think Vigiles are Vigiles. Frick me life. The names here are so bad. But when it comes to their heavy infantry though, with the Triaries, they are pretty good. they can be able to sustain a lot of damage and to be able to tank a lot of hits from charges and to be able to like hold their ground. But like I said before, majority of the time the Triari are pretty expensive, to be honest. So you want to use more of the melee infantries because they do more of the work and the heavy load of the Roman faction basically. So I think everyone's asking these days, you know, can we use the Roman faction as a beginner's kind of like faction to use basically for people that want to try playing Rome 2 Total War? Well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because of the fact they are really exponential with their melee infantry. Good defense, good attack is always great. Their speed is lacking though because the amount of armor that they do carry on their backs, literally, maybe figuratively, I'm not really sure about that, but majority of the time with their melee infantry, they are pretty strong, you know, but they are pretty slow as well. So you're not really going to be able to get a lot of those like flanking or rear charges, or unless you have a really good opportunity to do so. But that's not all the time because they do tend to be really slow, and you know the enemy will see that coming and they'll just counterattack you anytime if they do have any units available. So there's not really a lot of things you can do there. When it comes to their cavalry, you know, like I said before, they do really lack in the specs there basically because they're pretty they're pretty expensive. You know, I mean, some of them like are pretty good, pretty cheap like cavalry units that you could probably use, but they will not be able to go up against any other like faction or any other like horse related faction. Like Bactria has pretty good horse cavalry, Macedonia, Seleucid, Parthia, and everyone else in the world except for the Greeks. Probably the Greeks with the citizen cavalry, they'll probably be able to dismantle. But with the other ones, whew, no, they will not. Trust me, don't even do it. But majority of the time they do have auxiliary. But for the majority of the time they do have auxiliary Numidian cavalry, which is one of the best like skirmisher cavalries that I ever seen in my opinion. Because not only they have a really high missile damage, they really have a pretty good charge bonus as well. Basically they might not be able to stay into the fight, but when it comes to like just being able to like charge in whenever they run out of ammunition, you know, to go out, keep on charging, going back and forth, they are pretty good when it comes to being those kind of Swiss army rules basically. That's why I like to call whenever they can do multiple roles basically. Multiple roles, just like a rainbow. Okay. In my opinion, when it comes to this faction, for me, if I'm starting to try out a faction or a new faction for beginners basically, I wouldn't really want to use it because like of the tactics. It doesn't really go with my criteria of, you know, the tactics that beginners can use. If you guys do want to look at that video, make sure you guys look up here basically. So that's gonna give you a tactic that any kind of beginner in Rome 2 Total War can use basically. But majority of the time, in my opinion, it's not really good when it comes to like you trying to be able to have that multi-roles of the sub-army tactics, because of the fact they don't really give you a chance to have that. The reason why I say this is because of the fact that not only they don't really have any light infantry or really good light melee infantry for the majority of the time, they do really lack in the specs of basically their missile infantry as well. You could probably use the Balearic slingers as you like, but majority of the time they will not be efficient against heavy infantry. They will be pretty good against going up against missile infantry, but never going up against the heavy infantry. If you do plan to use them against heavy infantry, make sure you get the slingers any way possible behind the units and then just attack them, pepper them from behind. That is the only kind of strategy that I can think that you can be able to do efficiently with the Balearic slingers. And that's basically it when it comes to slingers. Majority of the time they don't really have light infantry, really good light infantry, such as like the Gallic warriors, the Celtic warriors. I'm not really sure why. I mean, because of the fact that in campaign you can actually hire them as either mercenaries or auxiliaries basically. Auxiliaries are I believe a little bit cheaper than mercenaries basically, so they will do the pretty good job when it comes to like flanking units as like the lighter and faster infantry. But for the majority of the time, their only like lighter infantry will be the Italian swordsmen. Apparently they're kind of like their Italian enemies basically before they became like something legit basically. So you only got, you know, the Italian swordsman, and they're not that good at flanking basically. They are pretty good at, you know, just trying to like counter flanks basically, trying to deal with like cavalry that are trying to go towards them, because they do have javelins on them, so that's pretty good to be honest. But for the majority of time, like light units is what I need as well in order to like deal with heavy infantry in the backward flanks. Even with armor piercing, they don't really have any armor piercing melee infantry. You know, unlike the Axe Warriors or the Falx Warriors from Thracia, I think it's Thrace, I believe. But majority of the time when it comes to Thrace, when it comes to those kind of factions, like you're gonna get some armor piercing, like good armor piercing infantry with those guys. But with this faction, it's all about attack against lighter infantry or somewhat other heavy infantry that are beneath them basically. But when it comes to armor piercing, they're not really gonna have that basically. So in my opinion, you could probably use this faction because their melee infantry is pretty OP to be honest. You could probably just dish out as much as possible and just go through the enemy lines no matter what. But the only problem with Rome is basically they do lack in other specs of the other units as well basically. You know, cavalry, they do have cavalry like I said before, but very expensive. Missile infantry, you know, very few and very expensive, kind of like good kind of missile infantries. And like they lack the lighter and armor piercing infantries that, you know, a lot of times I usually want to require in order to flank other units. So majority of the time, you know, if you do win majority of the battles in Rome 2 Total War using the tactic that I've told you guys about, like earlier in the video, basically using the Hastati in front, Principes in the middle, and the Triarii in the back, you know, then go for it. But majority of the time that tends to give you guys a kind of like unhealthy behavior when it comes to like, you know, trying to deal with different factions as well, you know, because this only tactic can be only used against if they do lack, you know, really good missile infantry and good cavalry basically. That's the only kind of like stuff that I would see here that you will be able to win when it comes to the Roman faction. Don't use this faction if you're not really experienced, because you'll tend to rage a lot, even though I understand they have good melee infantries, but mark my words, they do lack in the specs of other kind of other units as well. Their only unit types specifically are melee infantries. You know, they do have the other options, but they're just really few or just too expensive. What the hell, man? You know, their light infantries can't do crap, and their heavy infantries or heavy cavalries or any kind of like heavy type units are pretty expensive. So I wouldn't really like go with those kind of stuff basically. But if you guys do want to like try out other factions, if you guys are sick and tired of the other factions that you have and you want to play Rome and you're not sure of it, then you know, you go for it basically. You know, I'm not gonna be here to stop you about that. You know, you do what you do, but you know, take my advice. You know, if you're wanting to rage someday of your life, Rome is gonna be one of them if you go up against some other player that has a lot more experience than you. Trust me. Don't do that. You know, don't do that to yourself. I've done that to myself many times, but it's not good. Trust me, don't do it. So that's basically the aspects when it comes to like the Rome faction. You know, they're strong with their melee infantry, but they just lack everything else. It's like you putting all your skill points into stealth, and yet you put nothing else into your own like skill set, like attack, defense, or even theft. You know, when you try and steal something, you can't steal it because you got all yourself on stealth, but you can't steal a dang like cookie from a cookie jar basically. That's basically what the Roman faction is, to be honest, for me. But if you guys do have a different opinion about the Roman faction, make sure you guys go down in the comment section and just tell me your opinions about Rome. Like, should they be used for beginners? Are they good for like more experienced players? I know they're pretty good with experienced players, but I want your guys' take on like the Roman faction in general. If you guys have made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for being here at the end basically. If you guys do want more content about this, basically I'm gonna be dissing out like 1 video or 2 videos a week as much as I can. I'm still in school, so, any kind of support helps. Basically, you know, liking this video, subscribing as well if you guys do love more strategy based games. You know, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And I do try to respond to every comment that you guys make as much as possible. You know, there's not a lot, to be honest, so I could just do them for the majority of the time. It just depends if I got stuff on that day. So, but majority of the time I will be able to respond to you guys' comments. And if you guys do have another faction that you guys want me to have an insight on, basically, make sure you guys, you know, put down a comment below. This faction insight for Romans was basically commented by the real Star Wars fan, basically. So he's the one that suggested me to basically be able to like get this video out. So I did it for you, my man. And if you guys do have any other suggestions, you know, just let me know and I'll put them on schedule and see if I can be able to make those videos for you guys, because it's all about you guys. You know, I do want to try listening to you guys more often because you guys are there, guys are listening, and I want you guys to be involved into this community more often than usual. It's not about me, it's about you guys as well. Well, thank you guys for coming out today. I'm going to be putting down a link below for my 300 follower giveaway. A lot of people have entered already, so these are the sets that you guys might be able to win. You might be able to win one of these sets, basically. You got a Mandalorian set, which is pretty cool. Look at that. I never thought they had a Mandalorian set, basically. This is cool. You know, I wish I had this when I was younger, but... And then we also have an Ahsoka / kind of AAT kind of set right here. So if you guys are a big fan of Lego, if you guys want to like just build something during this like time of need, you know, you don't got any money, you know, why not try this out? You know, why not try, you know, competing and see if you guys are able to win some free 2 Lego sets, basically. They're pretty expensive. I'm not sure why. Probably because Lego is being broke or something, but that's just on them. But they do really make good sets, to be honest. Like I said before, all the links to my Twitch channel as well will be down at the description below. Basically, the giveaway stream will be on October 10th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Basically, that's when we're gonna reveal that's when we're going to reveal who will be the winner for the giveaway. And if you guys do want to meet with me and talk to me majority of the time, click down below for my Twitch link. It's basically twitch.tv/JKJustKiddingOfficial. I stream Thursdays to Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys for coming out today, and without further ado, for the Republic, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.